I thought it was interesting as you asked each guy, did you want more of this and how many of that could you have had and so forth. If everything that these guys wanted, we would have had to sign 30 guys. But that's the fun of it. Everyone knows what they feel like they need to make their position group. We had 20 vacancies that we could fill. Right now we're at 18. The one thing you never want to do is go over, obviously. One thing we've always done, I think, I'm not sure we've ever gone to the limit because we've always liked to have a scholarship on hand for some of those youngsters that spend 4 or 5 years with us and earn their way onto special teams and so forth. And probably in the last 9 seasons, we've had over 30 kids awarded with scholarships. And so if we would end up with 19, that would be about perfect in my mind as we go. As you look at the group, you asked Coach Bowman how many offensive linemen he would have liked. Well, we had pigeonholed 2. He probably would have liked 3 or 4, but we could afford 2 within our budget. And, so we'll see how we end up there. We knew we didn't need a fullback. We had 2 young fullbacks in Adam Holman and Zach Bourne, and so we didn't need to have a fullback on the board. Defensively, when you talk to the guys there, the discussion was always how many of this and how many of that. Coach Haycock mentioned you always need one of those big guys in the middle, and then obviously you need your good edge players and so forth. But with the way the game's changed, you need so many guys that are playing out in space, and that's why, as you saw, as they described the players, so many guys that have ball skills and athleticism and have played out in space and know the game, and so many guys that have played basketball and run track and so forth, that those are the kinds of guys they felt that they needed on the defensive side. And it's hard to project corners and so forth. We've been pretty fortunate at Ohio State over the years to find a bunch of guys out on the corner that have that good ability to cover, yet come up and be physical and so forth. And so I thought they did a great job there. We talk about special teams all the time, and having a guy like Drew Basil come and, he can kick, he can punt. We're even in some discussions as you look at the evolution, having moved the kickoff back. And it's a lot tougher to have touchbacks. You see some of the NFL and some of the college teams now going to a guy maybe that just drives the ball through the end zone and those kinds of things. So we thought having another guy come in that's just got a tremendous, powerful leg. Drew Basil, one of the best soccer players in the state. His team was, in the top 8 or so in the state in soccer, and so we thought that was great. And one question you asked Coach Siss about the thing that he felt Jamel Turner gained most from his experience at Fork Union, and Carlos could concur with this. That is a tremendous experience for any kid. I think if you ever talk to Eddie George and you talk about what was a turning point in his life and so forth, but it was neat listening to Jamel Turner talk about the fact that really he never was a guy that sat and read very much. He was busy, played every sport, he was out and about. And when he went to Fork Union, he all of a sudden gained a tremendous appreciation for reading. And now, in fact, in his eyes, he would rather read a book than watch a movie. And I asked him, why would that be the case? And he said, because when you read a book, you can create the characters in your mind. And on the movie, they create the character for you. And so I think his learning curve and his appreciation from a broader sense, it was a tremendous thing for him, and it's been exciting to watch how he's grown. Carlos Hyde told me that he really enjoyed learning how to fold hospital corners or something on his bed and shining his boots and all that, and he said he was going to teach this recruiting class how to march. And he said he was excited about that and the leadership skills and so forth. And so I think there's no question about it. If you look at the whole group, 9 Ohio kids, 9 out-of-state kids. I think it's a good blend of guys. Some guys that some of the out-of-state guys are so close that their parents can enjoy the experience just as well as the folks from in-state because they're just as close. And so I think it's a good blend of guys that are very interested in meshing. And I thought just so you guys know, I pore over everything that you show on TV and you write and you blog and you flog or whatever you do. I thought this was a neat thing when someone showed me, someone here did it. Was that you, Ken, that did a little comparison of our recruiting classes in the paper? And I thought this made as much sense as anything. That showed how the recruiting services ranked them, and then it showed how whoever wrote this ranked them. But I thought what was neat was if this recruiting class can end up like those recruiting classes, that's what it's all about. How do they come up and how do they mesh as new players? Can they contribute to the group in a certain way as a young player? And then can they evolve to become the core of the team? And then can they grow into leaders? And if you looked at these recruiting classes that they ranked, the 2002 recruiting class won 86% of their games. The 2005 class, 84.4%. The 2008 class, which has only had 2 seasons, 81% of their games. The 2006 class, 84% of their games. 2007, 82% of their games. 2004, 81% of their games. 2003, 82.5% of their games. If this group can mesh in, which is something I think we like about them, their versatility, their maturity, their passion to be a part of this, as opposed to simply, what will this do for me individually? They're really anxious, and we talked about Verlon Reed being an athlete and so forth, and you know what? He is going to be a big guy. Who knows what he's going to end up playing? We don't pretend when we're recruiting to know exactly what a guy is going to end up doing. And quite honestly, in the 4 or 5 years that these guys are here, the game's going to change. The game's changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. And your league changes. And what are you going to have to do to handle Wisconsin, who's pounding it, and Iowa, who's doing a great job with zone and play action pass and so forth, and what people are doing defensively, and the intellect in the game, and that excitement to study the game, and the technology that's available, and you can become a smarter football player, and all the rest. So I'm excited about this group. I hope they end up as good as these other groups have from a standpoint of what they contributed to Ohio State, which is what it's all about. And statistically, who knows what they'll end up being or doing, or how soon or how late, or all those things. We probably stood here in February of '02 having no idea what Troy Smith would do, and there wasn't one person in the room that raised their hand and said, do you think he'd have a chance to win the Heisman? So who knows what they end up doing? It's what they decide to do, and this is an unselfish bunch that is excited about being Buckeyes.